So, dear colleagues, we're going to continue. I know it's not easy to get our colleagues from outside because after the open space, there's still a lot to talk about. So, dear colleagues online, sorry about the delay. You know, it's very difficult to synchronize online timings with reality here. There are also some distances we have to take sometimes when we go from one room to another, and we want to go with the energy. So hopefully everybody online has energy. And so maybe before we are going to start our closing session on collaboration and relationships, I wanted to suggest that we have a 1-minute look at the Asia Garment Hub. I mentioned that this morning. There is this wonderful platform where we're trying to collect information, data, tools in one place. It's hosted by the ILO and GIZ. And many people here in this room have already contributed valuable resources to this platform. It has a sustainability lens. And we're going to show a video of about 30 seconds, I was informed. And for everybody here in the room, as well as the colleagues online, this is also the location to go to maybe beginning of next week, so I don't promise something too fast, that where you can find all the information about this conference and many, many other interesting reports and initiatives, videos. I think it's probably now the best source of information for this. So I will call upon our colleagues. Can we see the Asia Garment Hub video? And it's asiagarmenthub.net if you want to check on your computer. Okay, that was a small teaser. I think there's also a longer version of a video, but asiagarmenthub.net, and the longer version, if you still want to watch it, it's on the TV screen on the side for the people who are here in Siem Reap. Once again, also hello to all the colleagues who are joining us live on the online platform Hopin. And as you see, there is someone waving. We are going to start our conversation here with 3 colleagues. And online we are joined again here by Peter Ford. Peter Ford is from the HMM Group. He is the Green Investment Program Specialist. And I think you're working with supplying factories globally to cut GHG emissions in line with the H&M ambitious climate neutral targets you have, right? So welcome, right. Peter. Thanks for joining us online.
Thank you.
So maybe you say something, we can hear your voice.
Can you not hear me?
Now we hear you. Okay,
okay, good.
Yeah, I'm not so always in the control of my voice or your voice because there are people who have the power in the back. And then joining me here on these comfortable sofas in the late afternoon. So you see on my far opposite Ken Lu, the Secretary General from the Garment Manufacturers Association from Cambodia. He has already participated actively today and also in our pre-event. So I'm looking forward to hear some of his thoughts in our conversation. Welcome again. And next to me, or kind of next to me, you see an empty space here. We will talk about that in a second. Ian Lan, he is the CEO of Pactix Group, the Pactix Group of companies I was informed are leaders in socially and environmentally responsible manufacturing of high quality, sustainable outdoor travel and lifestyle products. And if you disagree that they are the leaders, that's not my area of expertise, but maybe some competitors here. But thank you very much, Ken, Ian, and Peter. Please give them a hand for joining me, us here on the stage. We are going to talk about relationships and collaboration. And I overheard a lot of conversations over the last actually 3 days. And we go a little bit deeper, but it's not to be an expert panel. These are my fire starters, online Peter and Ken and Ian. You are my fire starters or warming up. So there is the possibility for all of you to join the conversation. And if you join the conversation, we would like to hear from you your thoughts. You don't have to ask them questions. They might not have the question. I think they will share their opinion, they take on the questions. And I would like to hear from some of you in the audience. You literally have to stand up and take the free seat next to Ian in case there's a traffic jam. Happens sometimes. I have a extra seat here. And once you have shared your thought, you vacate and that give other the opportunity. However, we have people online, and Lisa Ramashoven will be actually the one observing what's happening on the online platform, and if there is someone who wants to share a thought, this is also possible. So I will check once or twice with Lisa if there's anybody, and this person will actually be also talking live on the platform, so we will see that person. Okay, so we have walked through quite a journey today, right? We talked about sustainability challenges. We started with the EU new sustainability law coming up. We talk about financing data, solar, and recycling. But one thing, and that's, I don't want to say the white elephant, I think a word I learned from a colleague here in the room, but all this, if we want to have a sustainable and greener production, there is something we really have to get better in. This is collaboration and relationships, because we have to work all together, right? Because you are coming from different stakeholders, you have different perspectives, and I think only jointly overcoming a lot of our challenges and understanding each other's perspectives first, and then come up co-creating a better future together will only lead to substantial improvements. And I would like to kick off the conversation with a question to our three speakers. Maybe I start with Peter. And the first question is, in our sector, what characterizes better relationships for you? And where do you see that we have actually a quite good basis or common ground for good relationships between manufacturers, buyers, and other stakeholders, such as NGOs, trade unions, governments? So is there something we can build on? So what's your personal truth, so to say, because you probably all have different perceptions. Peter, over to you.
Thank you. I think I would say, the strength that we're built on is all about partnership, and the longer that relationship can be, and the longer forward looking into the future that relationship can be, then everyone involved can plan and predict and really understand, what their strengths are, where they can grow in this relationship between brands, suppliers, and civil society around the factories. So for me, it's that ability to just, as long term as possible. I think our longest contracts are 5 years with suppliers, and you can really feel the difference. It's much more of a discussion back and forth with everyone involved in the process.
So if you have to highlight something, Peter, about a good relationship between you representing HMM and others, is that something you would highlight? The discussions that I currently now have with suppliers, where we are talking about finding ways to financially support their decarbonization. You can really see where we have these long partnerships, where they trust us as a brand, that we are doing what we can to support them for the long-term good. These investments we're making will save money for the factories in the long run as well, and will improve, the attractiveness of a factory for other brands, even make working conditions more comfortable, and everything really improves with these investments in this discussion. And I see that as a positive example. Thank you, Peter. Ken, for you, where do we have good common ground? What can we build on to improve our relationships? I mean, you are representing manufacturers, quite a lot of them. And so you have your objectives, you have things you want to achieve, you also want to have viable business, you want to make money as well. So on the other hand, you have to deal with a lot of people who maybe have a completely different lens when they look at manufacturing. So where do you see where we have common ground? Where can we build on our relationships?
Yeah, I think despite the fact that we all have different vantage points, we all see different sides of the same issue, but we need to work together to arrive or to derive a common solution that would actually benefit everyone. I think so greener production, is the topic that has come up the last 5-10 years. But if we want to take it back one step, we all have been working on the issue of CSR, social and labor compliance, for the longest time. I think that started out probably similarly to where we are in terms of greener production and sustainable production, right? And over the years, I think each of the stakeholders, manufacturers, trade unions, buyers, development partners, NGOs, we have found our own place in this equation, right? And the role that each different stakeholder needs to play, so we all get what we want. The brands get good reputation, what have you. The workers get better benefits, better working conditions. The employers, we hope to get better profitability and higher margins. NGOs, development partners, they also get what they want out of this whole one issue. So it cannot happen if we do not collaborate, because then we will be focused. We will only be focused on the bottom line. We will only, as employers, we will only be focused on trying to make more money, right? And we will not want to see, or we won't be able to see things from the perspective of the other stakeholders, and be unwilling to participate in any collaborative initiatives.
Thank you very much, Ken. And Ian, maybe your take on the question: what can we build on? Where is common ground? How would you describe where we are right now in trust and relationships?
I think a bit of a difficult spot, to be honest. I think as a manufacturer, of course, it's and I don't want to be let's say being the sorry guy, but we're in a bit of a difficult spot, of course, because manufacturers are lonely wolves, basically. And I think with GMAC and the Star Alliance, there is something happening that we really need, because we cannot fight any of the big brands or governments or anything. It's too difficult. We're very busy running our factory and making the stuff. So, and that is a challenge enough. I have a few worries, and that is there's legislation coming from the EU that will be, by some brands, pushed on us. Say, you sort it out and absorb the costs that are involved with it. I mean, I'm happy to hear that H&M is really thinking about it. I think that could be an example. So that is something that should be pushed much more. Right? So having that conversation. But I can tell you, I had conversations with big brands, and they just say, this is what is coming. You have to absorb the cost, full stop. That is not a relationship. If your wife would do that in your marriage, you would have a problem, basically. So then the other side, of course, is the government. What is facilitated by the government? We had a very interesting discussion about the solar panels again. What are kind of incentives that are coming from the government because they think it's important that will facilitate those conversations, I think, are not happening enough. At least I don't know if they're happening enough. And this is a complex game, a complex thing that is coming to us. And the only way to do that is to try to sit around the table with the most important. You cannot sit around the table with everybody. That's impossible. But with just a few important people, and see if at least you can align the things that are required. And I'm not sure if that's going to happen. I hope so. I'm not sure.
So you are already touching my second question, and after the second question, I want to open the floor if you want to join the conversation. So stay tuned. So Ian, you already mentioned that we have to talk, we have to bring people into conversation. I hope a small step happened here as well, although maybe not every stakeholder is equally represented. We have a lot of suppliers, manufacturers here in the room, but also other stakeholders. So if I would ask you, you are now a consultant to the sector, you're not a manufacturer anymore. What would you recommend? How can we actually overcome all the different interests and challenges? Can also outline to us what's the way forward beyond just starting a conversation?
Yeah, if I would do that, I would probably sell my shares in Cambodia and become a consultant. But I guess what is important to develop at least a kind of a framework, because there's a lot of us coming, and there's technological solutions, there is data, IT, there is also social behavior, there is new innovations, there's a whole complexity of things where you have to think about. So, and every approach to solve this problem will need a couple of people that need to talk about it. So I think a systematic approach, and not, going through all at the same time, because it's too big, it's too much, and get the right people around the table, because that is, for me as a manufacturer, very difficult. For Ken, it's already much easier, I guess. But I think if we try together, probably that can happen. And get the commitment also from big brands that it's not just legislation that are coming from the European Union, but also taking responsibility. And also the financial responsibility. Because it's all about that. It's about the power balance. We talked about it quite a lot. And only when it's a balanced story and a balanced risk, balanced financial investment, then it can work.
Thank you very much. So a couple of sound bites I take away, especially I like the one when you said, if you want to change something, you have to bring the system in the room. You have to bring all stakeholders who are part of this system into the room and have a important and relevant conversation about issues. There's the issue of power balance and also of financial responsibility. Ken, you would like to add on that one, and then I go to Peter.
I think the government plays a critical role. They have the power to bring all the stakeholders together and sit at the table. And, be it brands, when they have issues, they go to the government. Manufacturers, we have issues, we go to the government. Workers, they have issues, they can go to the government, and they do, right? And, it's good that the government launched the government sector strategy 2022-2027 after working on it for 5 years. But that provides a general direction. And I think we must use that as the basis going forward to solve problems of the industry, and as a platform for communication between different stakeholders, be it buyers, be it employers, be it trade union, a platform for communication with the government. Right, so the government is critical. They set policies, they set the direction, they will be able to give policies that will encourage manufacturers to make investments in certain areas, as well as understand the needs of international buyers and set policies that will attract international buyers. I think one that what has been debated hotly is the issue of solar, right? We have communicated, we need it. The international brands have a commitment, they need it. And hopefully the government can come up with the right policies to answer or to meet our needs. And this, I think, for greener production is the same. If the government sets the right policies in terms of trying to attract the right investments and to retain the right investments and to encourage existing investments to evolve, then you will see that happening. And you will bring in new buyers. It might not be the existing groups of buyers. Maybe it's, you will bring in brand new buyers who will come to Cambodia because of these right policies.
So you see an important role for the government to have a facilitating role in setting the right policies. And Peter, you are listening carefully, I see. So what's your take on it? What would be your way forward to improve our relationship towards a greener and more sustainable production?
One key initiative that I'm involved in is the UNFCCC's Fashion Charter. And under that, there are a number of different working groups committed to a number of different green initiatives. I currently am the chairperson of the Coal Phase Out Action Group, for example. And this gets brands together and some leading suppliers into the room together then with stakeholders and experts and allows us to share discuss together what brands need and want thinking moving forward, what supplying factories think is feasible and how they plan to decarbonize themselves, because there is sometimes disagreement on how that can be done. H&M doesn't really like natural gas being considered as a coal phase out, whereas for some processes in the garment manufacturing process, it's hard to find an alternative today, for example. So these are all discussions we can have in a friendly forum that then allows us to move forward and act. And this is definitely happening around coal phase out. It's happened on public affairs in the past. Some of you may remember the public affairs work that was done in Cambodia, facing towards the Prime Minister and talking about rooftop solar, power purchase agreements and other such things that both suppliers and brands were calling out for at the time. So I would say all of those are examples of where collaboration and work is happening at the moment, but can further strengthen and can further impact moving forward.
Thank you very much, Peter. So I'm going to, this is what we actually initially called fishbowl. That means the fishbowl we would have, we usually sit in a circle. There are 2 empty chairs in the middle. Now we're doing this hybrid format. I have 1.5 chairs for colleagues to join here in this audience. So I see already one colleague, please join us here. And also Lisa is monitoring. If anybody would like to share a comment or thought from our online audience, don't be shy. We offer you the space. And you have a mic next to you. Yeah. And just say one more time who you are, because maybe not everybody online knows.
Thank you. My name is Shamim Ehsan. I'm the Vice President of Bangladesh Knitwear Manufacturers and Exporters Association. And also I'm the board member of International Apparels Federation, IAF. My point is that, the green and sustainable production is a very catchy word, but a very expensive word. So end of the day, it needs money, as Ken said, that it needs money. I know that the big buyers, the big brands are really working on it. They are investing, they are supporting to source how to get the fund to develop the factories. But the problem is around 60% of the garments still belongs to SMEs. But without developing the SMEs, we cannot reach to our ultimate goal. So what should we do for the SMEs? That's the main question actually rise today's in many seminar, in many sessions. This is the main question actually it rise. My opinion is that we have to change the mindset of our end consumer, because unless end consumer, those who are buying the product, they don't care about the greener and sustainable production, we cannot reach. Because if a customer go to brand A and looking for the cheaper goods than the brand B, and if they don't care about how the product manufactured, where it's manufactured, where it's sourcing the cotton, either it's a sustainable cotton or sustainable polyester or not, then nothing will happen. So we have to work on the production side as well as to the end consumer side. Otherwise, we cannot reach to our goal. So this is a very important point, because we are here to do the business. Of course, CSR is there. We will do a CSR from the percent of our profit. First, we have to make the profit. Then the percentage we will invest for the CSR. But if we cannot make the profit, then from where we will do the CSR? So this is a very important point for the SMEs especially, that how to get the actual cost for the sustainable and greener production. Thank you.
Thank you. Just stay with us for a moment. Maybe someone either here wants to respond or Ian, and please join us if there's another chair here.
A very quick response, maybe. I think on it, I thought also that was true, to be honest, that it's the influence of the influencing and marketing and whatever on the end consumer to change the purchasing behavior. I'm not sure if that is really true. I think, and that's also based on a couple of discussions we had earlier, I think with a couple of people. But I think there's also a responsibility as a company yourself to just make sure that you try to do as much as possible to improve certain processes and to make that ball rolling. And then, of course, you have the big question: who is paying for it? But that is another question, because maybe the brands are not paying for it. Doesn't mean necessarily that you don't have to make that ball rolling. So that's the only point.
You want to respond?
No, he's right. He's in a sense right. But I agree with him that, of course, we have to start something, roll the ball. But to keep it, we have to get the power to roll out the ball for the long time. So unless we are getting the price, especially I can talk about from the view of our country, like in Bangladesh, it is very difficult because only the big brand, they are really care about these points, but no small brands, no small importer actually care about the sustainable production side. And the main challenges is for the medium scale industry, because they are sometimes working a few portion of their production capacity with the big brands, and maybe 60% or 70% with the small importers. So to match, it is very difficult, because the big brands are asking their factory premises to be the top standard, but the others are not paying. So these are happening in some small and medium factories.
Thank you very much. I'm not sure if Peter representing a large brand.
Well, it's nice to know that the large brands are having a positive impact on driving sustainability work moving forward. I would say from my experience with this project, the biggest challenge is the initial startup cost or investment cost in rooftop solar. A megawatt costs about $1 million as a global average. So that is maybe an area where development agencies or NGOs can support SMEs and MMEs, because payback of 5 years means 15 years of great savings financially as well as then environmentally for any size of industry. So finding ways to really help get these investments made will bring benefits regardless of the size, I would say. And in bigger units, bigger brands can support. Rooftop solar is something that my project is. I've got quite a few rooftop solar projects on the go at the moment. And yeah, the payback and the return gets better every day. So yeah, important actions need to be taken.
Thank you very much, Peter. Thank you very much. We have free seats online as well as in this room. Any thoughts? Please join us.
I just want to make
yes, in the meantime, go ahead.
Is that it's interesting that I have exactly the opposite experience. So the big brands actually are not willing to help us and say you have to absorb the cost, and the small brands that have basically sustainability and recycled and upcycled material and the whole, they're really interested to help us. So that conversation is completely the other way around.
Interesting. So Saqib, please introduce yourself.
My name is Saqib Shahzad. I'm head of sustainability from Sapphire Diamond Fabrics Limited, Pakistan. I would go with the point with the awareness of the end user. But at the moment, we have developed a product which is already very useful for the end users. So we cannot change at the moment. We try to find out the other way, the alternatives. Like if I give some specific example here, we are liking the spray product with the spray jeans. So that is going with the potassium permanganate, which is more hazardous. So we need to find some alternatives. And with the help of brand, we can go for the new innovations, new development, a more sustainable product. And that can be the only possibility to change the mindset of the end user, because they are demanding superior product, we are producing. And brand is also following the same standard. So my perspective is we have to develop a strategy to work in this way where we can go develop a more sustainable product and which is more durable. Like if we are going to develop a product which is achieving the 30 home laundry, the product must sustain at least 30 home laundry or 40 home laundry, whatever you're claiming. So in that case, you're also ensuring the circularity. You are also ensuring the recyclability of the product. So that is the main objective. So once you are going to produce this kind of a thing, you also need to ensure the recyclability of it, and then biodegradability, and ultimately the one and the final thing, the traceability. So whatever you are claiming, the product you are going to develop, it is more sustainable. How you are going to ensure it? You have to provide some data. How you have developed this product, which chemical you have used, either is environment friendly, and the product that you have developed, it is more recycled and biodegradable. And in that case, we need support the brand to develop these kind of a things. So this is my perspective on this area.
Thank you. Maybe wait for a second for reactions. And either here from my three colleagues here. Peter, you were nodding, I saw when Sakib was speaking.
Oh, yeah, no, I agree with all of these comments on circularity and what happens once the product is made and everything else. In terms of the data, I think some brands, I can't speak for everyone. I shouldn't have spoken for all big brands on the last answer. At least one of us is doing something. You know, we're recording this data on the input chemicals, working with the DHC program and others. There is knowledge of everything that goes into an item of clothing, but whether that knowledge is then shared along the value chain so that decisions can be made about recycling or upcycling or next step, I agree. There's definitely room to improve on that. But the data is there somewhere.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So we still have space to hear some other thoughts about the way forward. And I hear from Lisa that someone is online. So
actually, we don't have someone online. Someone shared a comment in the chat and asked me to raise the question for them. So we have a manufacturer from Vietnam who's asking, is collaboration between those stakeholder groups really possible? Because on the one hand side, you need to have conversations that require collaboration to be more competitive, for example, to get ahead of decarbonization, while on the other hand, you are not having certain conversations so that you stay competitive in terms of prices and quality of the products. So some conversations make you more competitive if you have them, some make you more competitive if you don't have them. So how do you strike that balance between different stakeholder groups?
Ken.
I think what was mentioned applies to individual enterprise, but doesn't really apply to groups of people. And in the beginning, when the Star Network started, I said, there's no conflict amongst the association. GMAC doesn't compete with BGMA. We don't compete with MGMA. We don't compete with the park. We should collaborate. Individually, our members compete against one another, yes. And that's why it would be difficult for the individual enterprise to participate actively and genuinely in any collaboration, because they are competitors. But the respective groupings, we're not competitors. And we need to represent the interests of our members, right? So similarly, it's like if you take the brands, brand versus brand, they compete, but they have similar agenda as collectively as a group, as the buyers, and that's where collaboration must take place. So amongst the buyers, there will be collaboration, but they won't tell individually. There will be competition, right? And the buyers love to invoke the antitrust law, but I think there's a lot of rubbish a lot of times. But they do compete, right? Brand A with brand B, with brand C. But collectively, as a group of brands, they will have collective interests that they will bring to the various stakeholders. They will bring to the government a group of collectively their problems and their vision and what they hope to achieve, and collectively manufacturers, collectively the trade unions, collectively development partners. Even development partners, you compete as well. But collectively, you have a common agenda. There will be a common agenda when you come together. So I agree, individually, it would be very difficult to find true collaboration because they are direct competitors. But collectively as a group, then, you know, surely there are common interests that you can work together.
Peter, you want to respond, I see.
Well, I agree. I was also just going to say that, you know, in an average factory, there are multiple brands sourcing from the same factory. So the competition might happen in the high street, but it shouldn't happen on key environmental and sustainability metrics. Most brands are requiring the same thing and wanting to work with a facility to achieve that. So this collaboration happens at the factory level and with the brands as well.
Thank you. We have time for one last comment before I have a final question to our three colleagues here on stage. Anybody online or in the room who would like to share a thought? Okay, we're running out of steam. So let me ask my last question. And I have been your facilitator, but I'm also working as a futurist. So I take the prerogative to ask you about the future. So we have heard about some trends and change drivers that will push the industry in a certain direction. There are things that also pulling you into a certain directions. So, and I like to think about alternative and preferred futures. So in a nutshell, how do you think the industry will look like in 2030, for example? I mean, Sustainable Development Goals, that's only 7-8 years from now, using a lens of sustainability and greener production. So you can come take a national perspective or a regional perspective as you think. So how do you think how we're going to do by 2030? How will the industry look like when you put on the glasses of sustainability and greener production? So Peter, I guess you are the one probably thinking, even by your profession, quite a lot about that. So 2030?
Oh, that's easy. I have to remain an optimist on this. By 2030, there'll be zero on-site coal in anywhere in the world in the garment sector, and 100% renewable electricity will be available for all via PPAs. Battery storage will have improved. I'm an optimist on this one. I think it's definitely possible. If governments align, if everyone else aligns to drive that forward, for sure.
So, very strong optimist. Thank you, Peter. Ian.
Yeah, I think it's not only about the electricity and the solar panels. I think there will be probably a change that brands will start to produce closer by, because still a big thing of the whole sustainability, whatever, and we discussed that, we don't like the word actually, but is the supply chain as such. We still also, I mean, we also do it. We buy stuff in China, bring it here, make something and ship it to the US. Is that sustainable? Probably not. So I think there are probably going to be different ways of producing closer by home. Let's say it. So that will have an impact. Doesn't mean that there is no space for manufacturing here, but you probably have to be more clever and look for a specific niche to get your product out in the market. So I think there will be maybe 7 years is too short, but let's say 10, 15 years from here, I think that change will definitely be there.
Ken.
Yeah, I play the pessimist all the time. 7 years would go by in the blink of an eye, right? 7 years is, I don't know, I mean, really fast. I don't think we will make progress for sure. Some brands will achieve. Maybe H&M will get there. Not all brands will get there, right? So, Peter, I don't know if you are speaking from the perspective of the whole industry, I would put money against what you just said. But if you're talking about H&M or certain brands, not just specifically H&M, but there are some brands that are certainly more progressive and already 2, 3, 4, 5 steps ahead of others. But for the whole industry, highly unlikely. But certainly we need to start somewhere, right? So it's a good start. I think 2030, yeah, I agree. 15 years, 20 years, maybe. 7 years is nothing. 7 years is...
Yeah, for future there's also nothing, but what would be your role in making this greener, more sustainable?
In 7 years, I hope to be retired. I hope to... Yeah, I really hope to retire.
Is this an optimistic?
Yeah, but that's optimistic. That's really, yeah, that's extremely optimistic. But I mean, 2030, BGMEA handed out some very, I think, very impressive pieces of documents today. They have a 2030 plan, which is excellent. Unfortunately, I think for Cambodia, we don't. The government sector strategy is until 2027. It's timely because 2027 will probably be the year that Cambodia graduates from least developed country status, and 2030 we will lose all trade privileges as we graduate. But of course, the government will look at other things. So in terms of sustainability, I think that's probably not really high on the agenda of the government. The government for the next 5 years is going to be very worried about and will work very hard to solve or to try to preempt any problems that we will face once we lose LDC status. Right? So sustainability, yeah, we'll get there. 7 years, not possible. 15, maybe. Yeah, so 30, and let's make that 2040, right? 17 years. I will be retired by 2040.
Okay, last comment from Ian. Anything? What would you do? What do you think we can, with tactics or you personally can contribute to a more sustainable green production for the future?
Yeah, that is continuously looking at how you can do things better, and it's not always easy. Again, because you meet many parties to make that work, including government, including brands, including communities sometimes. But it's a continuous process. It never stops, and sustainability is, in that sense, a never-ending story. I mean, it's not something we will achieve ever, because the moment we have achieved the whatever goals we set now, we find out that something else also is quite harmful. So this is a never-ending story in that sense, which is also a very good business model at the same time.
Thank you very much. So I think we have to take a bookmark here. We are coming really to the end of our Asian Dialogue Conference on greener production. So please give a hand one more time to Ken Lu, Ian, and Peter Ford online. And let's vacate the stage here for a moment, because we're gonna conclude now the conference. Before I will call upon two colleagues to say a few closing remarks, I wanted to invite you all here in the room for a post-group picture. There is no obligation to join, but once there is a final gong, yes, there's a gong again, a final gong, please come with us just in front of the building for a final group picture. And if it's raining cats and dogs, I don't have any weather reports available, then we do it right in the lobby or here on stage. I will ask our photographer where we have to go. So thanks again. So thanks to all our online participants and Peter for joining. I hope for our online participants, in spite of that we not always respected the full announced timings, you had some good sessions to join. And now we are coming to the end of our conference, and I wanted to request, and actually the government was mentioned a couple of times on stage. So may I call upon the Royal Cambodian government to say a few closing remarks. Please welcome again Dr. Pum. And we do it with a wireless mic.
Okay. Yeah. So I think the discussion come to an end, the conference come to an end. But I don't think that we will end our collaboration, our relationship, as well as our dialogue by now. So on behalf of the GIZ, Private Cambodia, GMAC, and Cambodian Authority, the Royal Government of Cambodia especially, and from my Ministry of Economy and Finance, I would like to express my appreciation to all of you for your active participation, for your sharing success story, experiences, and knowledge. And I would like to wish you all the best, especially a safe and a pleasant trip back to your own country, and try to explore as much as you can of Siem Reap. And please return to Cambodia and Siem Reap again. We will warmly welcome you. And as I mentioned this morning, if you want to go jogging, running, or whatever, please let me know. I have some colleague in Siem Reap who can accompany you to explore more. And in Siem Reap, what we do, besides visiting all the temple, the famous temple here, you can also do biking in the jungle. You can do the hiking. You can do a lot of jogging. And then you can explore the city with the new infrastructure, the new road that just newly built. So we are so proud that the government take some money to spend on the renovation of the infrastructure in Siem Reap. We dream so long as Cambodian people. We say even the temple are old, but we need new and well established infrastructure that easy for our commute around the city here, around when the visit here. So our dream come true. So this is about commitment. This is about the continued dialogue and continued support that we have, and then we make it. The same thing, going forward, we talk about sustainability. I am very optimistic. I'm not pessimistic like Ken Lu. I think that together we will achieve that dream. Together we will be able to make sure that the whole industry, that we compete each other from each country, but for the future, I'm sure that our common goal, we have to collaborate together. Same way to talk with our buyer, right? So that is how that we are going to have a good well-being for our workers, especially, and we have the worker rights, we have the gender. So all these things that we need to fight together for that one. So I think that our dream will come true in terms of sustainability and the greener production, greener industry going forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Pum. And now I better ask, how many of you are going to join at 5 o'clock in the morning? Anybody running tomorrow morning? Yeah. I know that people, the hand is a little bit shaking. It's a dream for many people to do that. It's 14 kilometers at 5 o'clock in the morning, but let's not give up on our dreams. Okay. So, and last but not least, on behalf of our main organizers here, I will welcome one more time. Please give a hand to Dr. Mark Beckmann.
Yeah, thank you very much. And of course, I share the optimism of the Cambodian government. And Excellency, I will join you tomorrow morning, but I set the maximum to 10K. So if we stay within the limit, then yes, we'll join tomorrow morning. I would like to thank you, Excellency, for your active participation. I see this really as a start of a dialogue with the ministry, how we as GIZ Fabric can support the implementation of the strategy. I think this is really the end of a long day, a very productive but long day. So this is, of course, not a long speech, but I want to thank some people. I want to thank GMAC for co-organizing this event. I also would like to thank all the team that was behind this big effort. There are some people who really put a lot of work into making this happen, who did all the work in the background. So maybe let's get up and give them a big round of applause. Lisa Ramashofen, who has led our organizing team. We have Marsha and Selina. Please get up. Ferdinand. And also our Samud, our colleague Samud. We have, I don't know if she's on, joining online, Nii from Myanmar, who has supported the organizing team. I also would like to thank our tech team, of course, Georg and Rebecca. Really, thank you very much. I mean, I think this is one of my comments. I mean, not to pat ourselves too much on the shoulder, but for me, this was the best hybrid event that I have participated, large hybrid event. So I think it worked really well. We took some lessons from the virtual formats that we implemented in the pandemic. And yeah, I think we were able to bring both worlds together. This was also, of course, thanks to our moderator. I would like to thank Joost very much for keeping the program so vivid and keeping everybody interactive. Thank you for being here, Joost. Yeah, what I heard a lot today was we talked about requirements, but there was nobody really complaining about requirements. I think there was really a perspective of going forward, of looking at what we already have as expertise and good practice in the region, and how we can work together to address some of the challenges going forward. So I think this is a great spirit going forward for our cooperation. I would like to thank you all for participating today. Yes, there was a collateral impact of this conference of also promoting the tourism in Siem Reap, which has actually suffered a lot during the pandemic. So I hope you can enjoy Siem Reap, the temples in Cambodia, and that you come back soon. Thanks again for all your contributions, to all the speakers and presenters, and we look forward working with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So we're coming really to the end, and I heard the comment of Dr. Pum about the gong. So then I asked him to actually officially close the event with a gong, and after the gong, we all get up and go for a group picture just in front of the room, and then we can come back here and chill. And I hope you don't mind we finish half an hour early.
The end of our fruitful and frank, fruitful and then a successful conference. And thank you so much, Josh, for your excellent, moderation and facility that you have provided to us the whole day. We don't feel bored, but we feel so energetic all the time. So please join us together to close our famous conference, international conference, with this one. Okay.
Thank you so much, sir.